lessen the damage. That storm is going to come. When it comes to wildfire, we know we can treat the forest. And we know on an individual basis, if we get someone to protect their home by thinning trees, by having defensible space, by taking these steps, is that they're going to go a long way to protecting their property. And so we are able to better mitigate against it than some other disasters. And also because we haven't had that history of high insurance losses, where the emphasis really starts to come from your insurance company is mitigation. So the good news is you can still get and keep affordable insurance if you live in a higher risk wildfire area. But the bottom line is insurance companies are less willing to insure and renew any kind of high-risk customer. And when it comes to wildfire, for those people living in that wildland-urban interface, they are going to be expected to do the mitigation. The people that refuse to take the steps to protect their property are going to have a more difficult time finding and keeping affordable insurance. And I know that sounds more like the stick than the carrot, but I can tell you that it's being lauded by wildfire officials and emergency managers because they know it's that short-term pocketbook incentive that's going to get people to do the right thing, maybe more so than thinking about that big wildfire that may come across their land. What's happening, and many of you may be aware of this, you might even be a customer of a company that is doing this, is that overall companies are doing more inspections and re-inspections, and they're requiring you to do mitigation on new and renewal policies. So you're going to get a letter in your mail from your insurance company, and they're going to say, okay, we inspected your property, and we're asking you to do these simple steps to help you protect your property and keep your insurance. Many of you have probably heard State Farm, after our expensive Hayman wildfire out in Colorado in 2002, did implement a 6-state pilot program where they very aggressively went and inspected properties, began sending out notices, and asking people to take the mitigation steps or risk losing their insurance. The good news is these non-renewal rates were very, very low, and really I think the direction it's taking is people are more and more doing the things they need to do to protect their property. Allstate began doing a similar program as well where they're doing it on new business, but I can tell you that it is the public policy direction of insurance companies. So if you're not with State Farm or Allstate, certainly all of the other companies are putting the emphasis on mitigation. And a question I get a lot of time is what kind of mitigation, especially from county officials or local fire departments. Really what they're asking are the things that Brenda pointed out. What are those scientifically proven steps that are going to go a long way to protecting that property? They're the FireWise recommendations, keep up with the local fire codes, and then also individual company underwriting guidelines. The companies are still going to have their own underwriting guideline when it comes to the kind of property they're willing to insure, but mostly they're the kind of things that you're asking them to do as well. So overall, insurance industry mitigation goals, same as yours, protect lives, homes, and personal property of our customers, your citizens, create safer environments for fire and emergency officials to respond to wildfires, and then the big goal, reduce the potential for severity of future financial losses shared or caused by these tragedies. I think that's where our conversation and dialogue today becomes so important, is there's a shared public-private risk and responsibility. We need to engage community members and gain their buy-in. Make them think this is the right thing to do, whether it's to keep their insurance or just make their community safer. We need to build partnerships to make communities safer, and the tough part for all of us is have the political will to pass ordinances and strengthen those building codes. I think the bottom line is we want you to know that we want to work with you to get that buy-in and educate customers. We've worked very closely both in Colorado and New Mexico developing wildfire and insurance guides. In Colorado, we've distributed 40,000 of our partnership guides to consumers through insurance agents, through fire departments, through Forest Service, and done the same thing in New Mexico where we've distributed over 25,000. So as we wrap up our partnership goals, we hope they're the same as yours. Using that message, really leveraging it, that keeping affordable insurance motivates customers to reduce risk before the next wildfire. Leverage that teachable moment before, during, and after to deliver prevention insurance messages. If we have that Witch Creek fire, we're going to be talking about in Colorado and Utah because we know people have seen the flames, and that's when they're going to be listening. And then insurance companies, finally, we want to partner on mitigation efforts, education, and response. So we're a very willing partner, so engage us before, during, and after that wildfire. Here's some resources, and I know you can get this through the NACO website for insurance information and statistical research. And then just finally, my own information. If you have any questions, if you're in my region, certainly reach out to us whenever, because we'd love to partner with you on all of these areas. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Carol. We do have one more quick poll before we hear from our last speakers. The question is, how many acres within your county do you suspect is in a WUI, or the Wildland Urban Interface? Little to none, less than half, more than half, don't know. What do we have here? Well, nobody's in the little to none, that's for sure. So it looks like a majority, more than half, and slightly less, 37% less than half. So it gives you an idea how vulnerable some of these counties are within the country to wildfire, and so that explains the interest in the webinar we're conducting today. So moving on, we will now hear from our final speakers, Adrian Freund, who currently serves as the Community Development Director for Washoe County, Nevada, and Kurt Ladapow, who currently serves as the Fire Services Coordinator for Washoe County, Nevada. Mr. Ladapow and Mr. Freund, speaking on behalf of county fire officials and the planner perspective, will describe mitigative practices being implemented in Washoe County to reduce the risks of wildfire and improve the opportunity to provide affordable and adequate fire insurance to all homeowners. Kurt and Adrian.
Well, good day. Greetings from out here in frozen Reno. Hard to imagine looking out the window with all the snow that we're talking about wildfires, but we've had a unique partnership here between our fire services and our planners who are working on comprehensive and master plans for the community. So that's what Kurt and I will talk a little bit about today. Is your image okay out there?
I haven't gotten it yet.
It's up, Adrian.
Huh?
It's not up.
It's not up? Okay. Sorry about that. Cindy, can you pop in one you have? I'm not sure what
I have it now.
Huh?
Yep, you're on slide 2 right now.
Okay.
Emergency planning rules.
Thank you. Great.
Thank you.
First of all, I don't think everyone recognizes the roles that community planners play in emergency preparedness. We highlighted some of this back at the APA National Conference in Minneapolis last spring. But there are a number of planners who both head the planning sections at their Emergency Operations Center and a number of planners that staff those planning sections. One of the things we follow when we stand up our Emergency Operations Center is something called the Planning P. You can get information about this through the National Information Management System. But basically, planners are responsible for providing current information that accurately describes the incident and the status of the resources, predictions of the probable course of events during an emergency, alternative strategies to attain critical incident objectives, and preparing an accurate, realistic incident action plan for the next operational period during an actual emergency. One of the important things that we're about here, and this is really a work in progress, is incorporating wildland urban interface and fire preparedness into our master plans, projects, and construction plans. And depending on where you are in the country, you may call these master plans, comprehensive plans, or general plans. But basically, we're looking at the highest level of policies, establishing future land use, and the importance of incorporating fire-wise policies into those particular plans. course, we also plan for other natural hazards that we face in our region: earthquakes, slides, avalanches, etc. And lastly, the unique partnership that we have here is closely coordinating with the fire services to improve codes and compliance. And of course, that also includes coordination with our building officials. Some of the work that NACO's done shows that a few localities across the nation are actually embedding policies and codes in their master plans, subdivision regulations, development codes, and building codes to deal particularly with wildland fires. And it seems to us here that that's a pretty important step to take, so that from the highest policy level on down, we're actually incorporating policies that will ultimately bring about changes in the way we develop areas in the future, and changes in the way that we build and do site planning, in fact. I think it's been pointed out by your previous speakers that there is an increased incidence of wildfires due to climate change. I think one of the speakers mentioned urban sprawl, so that we're actually expanding this wildland-urban interface area all the time. And there is an actual expansion, apparently, of arid areas across North America. One of the fundamental tools that's really important to have is some idea of what the risk ratings and hazard factors are that exist in your particular area. And I'd like Kurt to talk a little bit about the CWPP, the risk ratings, and the hazard factors that we've compiled here to give us a start on incorporating policies into our master plan.
Absolutely, and the way we approach this here in Washoe County is a systems approach, so to speak, utilizing the codes, the International Fire Code, the Wildland Urban Interface Code, and our community wildfire protection plans. And we're fortunate here in Washoe County in that we've got a countywide CWPP. So what we're doing right now in the planning process is we're overlaying all of these tools, including the community participation piece. What you see on your screen there is the hazard risk rating map for the lower half of Washoe County. As you can see, we have quite a bit of risk, and some may even think that the entire county is in the wildland urban interface. And with the exception of the deep core, I would agree with that statement. As you look at utilizing the CWPPs in your planning process and in your code development process, I'd like you to take a look at the community guide to preparing and implementing a community wildfire protection plan that can be found on the NACO Clearinghouse site. You'll find a process in there that will assist you in getting participation, buy-in from your communities, and for me, the most important part of that is sustainability. So they actually take ownership. So now you evolve from the planning piece using good input, good risk management, good zoning, and good planning for where these homes are going to be, to where they are built. You have buy-in from the community to keep them maintained. Adrian?
Yeah, very important point, and I'm sure that a lot of counties face different levels of risk. Here we, of course, have just about every imaginable risk, from high alpine areas up in the Lake Tahoe Basin down to sage complex areas, which represent their own special set of problems in the high desert. So moving on from identifying what the relative levels of risks are, we're beginning now to embed those in our policies in the comprehensive plan.